right. Hey everyone, Chris Myers, President of Chicago Young Republicans, with Greg Hart today, who's currently on the DuPage County Board.
Yep.
So Greg, thanks for being out with me. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get a chance to know Greg. Obviously super excited to have a fellow young Republican who's moved out to DuPage County.
Yep.
And is actually actively currently on the DuPage board.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go and spend some time, get to know Greg, why he's running, and hopefully figure out how can we help Greg ensure that he stays as a member of the board. So Greg, if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and kind of how you got to where you are.
Yeah, well first, Chris, thank you so much for having me out here. It's a pleasure to be back in Chicago. I actually used to live in the city at a brief period of time. I'm not missing the politics, but I'm definitely enjoying being back with this view, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And you run a great organization that does a lot of good for not just Chicago, but the state. So appreciate it. So everyone, I'm Greg Hart. It's very nice to be with you as well. I'm sure many of you haven't heard of me, but I'm, like Chris said, on the DuPage County Board representing District 3, which includes all of southeastern DuPage, running from Hinsdale in the east, all the way to parts of Naperville in the west. And it's been a fantastic ride. I've been appointed on the board for about a year now. I'm a third generation DuPage County resident. The youngest member of the board, and also in my professional life, a management consultant where I help businesses think through ways to be more efficient, effective, and best leverage their human capital, which, as I will get into a little bit later, is a tough challenge for many governments these days in terms of managing their expenses, and particularly the overhead costs that come with them. So
absolutely.
Pleasure to be here. Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
So how is it that you got appointed in the first place? I think I'm interested. I think our viewers would be interested. How is it you got appointed to the position, and then why are you running now, and what makes this attractive for us as Republicans?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got appointed by a way that isn't as interesting as it may sound, but I applied to the position. There was a vacancy that opened up. My predecessor, now Senator John Curran, was previously on the board, and when he ascended to the Senate, there was a vacancy. And my wife and I were living in the district, and had always been passionate about public service. Never thought that it would become a part of my life this early, but I figured, why not now? And to the point about why now and why I'm running, really a lot of the challenges that DuPage County and many municipal and local governments are facing across the state is having to do more with less. Just this past year, DuPage actually received $3 million less than they were supposed to get from Springfield due to the mismanagement that our state government has been struggling with. So there's really a need on the DuPage County Board for a skill set in terms of looking at an organization, determining how it could be more efficient and effective, and that is what I do on a day-to-day basis for my clients in my professional life. So I figured, why not throw my hat in the ring if there's a way to help my community and continue to make DuPage the county that I grew up in, that my parents chose to stay in. This was the opportunity, and this was the time to do it.
That's great to hear. As somebody who's already focused in business, thinking about change, which we know a lot of times our governments need to change, especially here in Illinois.
Absolutely, yeah.
We need a lot of change at the state level.
We need a lot more of that, yeah. And frankly, too, this was a skill set, and people that have experience in business, like yourself, for example, really encourage them to get involved, because I really think government thrives when there's a diversity of viewpoints, and I think there's more need for people with business acumen and business skills to get involved into the mix, especially the challenges that we're facing across the whole state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Greg, when we help you get reelected, what is it that you want to focus on? What are 2 to 3 things that are important to the citizens in DuPage County that you can help out with?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And the same issues that I want to continue driving at the county board are the same issues that I have been driving for the past year. The chairman of DuPage County, Chairman Dan Cronin, a great friend and a fantastic public servant, he's really spearheaded the viewpoint of doing more with less in government, and actually advancing the topic of consolidation of units of government that really are either arcane or not doing what they're chartered to do, and I want to continue helping in that path. My first vote on the county board, I literally was sworn in and then went to vote, and the first vote I had to take was to dissolve the Highland Hills Sanitary District, which many of us don't know what that is, and frankly, before I joined the board, I had to do my research as well, but it was a unit of government that was operating inefficiently, not serving the purpose that it was supposed to serve and costing the taxpayers money with no services coming from it. And my first vote was to consolidate that into a different unit of government, which actually saved the taxpayers around $1.4 million in rate increases.
Nice.
So I was honored to have that as my first vote, and since that point I've really looked for ways to identify inefficiencies in DuPage County government. I'm the chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee at the county, which touches a number of topics, including community services. And just this year, we found a way to spin off psych services and community services into the health department, saved the county about $1 million for the taxpayer. So really my main priority, in many words that I've said, this is what it boils down to, is identifying ways to consolidate units of government that aren't serving their purpose and really just saving the taxpayers money and ensuring that we can stave off any tax increases, because I think that is a huge detriment to not only the county of DuPage, but it's also the reason why our state's in really tough financial shape. So ensuring that DuPage is a low tax environment with efficient government and a place that businesses and families want to move, that's really my main priority.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I read somewhere that I think Illinois is among the highest in the nation at most units of government per capita.
7,000 units of government in the state of Illinois. And we have to, if our state government isn't operating efficiently, it makes you wonder how the other ones are down the stream. But I'm proud that DuPage has a great record of being very well managed. But a great record alone isn't going to result in continued great records. We need to make sure we're getting the best leadership in there that we can, and I think that I'm one of those leaders that can help ensure that the county continues to be solvent and is serving its duty to the taxpayer.
That's great to hear. So, Greg, tell us a fun story or two from the campaign trail. So as you're out meeting voters and talking to constituents, what's something fun that you've experienced while getting to meet those individuals?
Yeah, well, I think there's a number of fun topics that come to mind. I have a lot of volunteers on my campaign who have been involved in politics for the first time in this campaign, and many of them naturally are young people, which I think is incredibly important for our democracy and for especially young Republicans. We need to get more of them involved early. But with young people, that just adds a more fun dynamic, if you ask me. We have a number of meetups afterward, where we enjoy ourselves. But I think the one story that really reiterates one of the more fun aspects of my campaign and really an eye-opening experience is I grew up thinking my last name was incredibly unique, but going door to door, I swear, I've met so many people with the last name Hart that I didn't realize how ununique my last name was. But the fun story that comes from that is whenever I knock on a fellow Hart's door, it usually results in a yard sign. So for that reason, I'm very happy about it. And we have a good time on my campaign. We're very dedicated, but we have a positive message and a positive attitude, and that's why I think we get in politics, especially in Illinois, we get dragged down too much in the mud, focusing on the negatives of our opponents, where in reality, there's not so many negatives that we should focus on. It's really just our differences. We have a difference of viewpoint, and from a Republican standpoint, I think we have the best ideas, and that's really the issues that I run on. And when you focus on positive messaging and ensuring that your campaign is generally positive, you have more fun in general.
Totally. Yeah, and we have a lot of great ideas amongst the party that really need to get implemented here in the state.
Yeah.
When we have a speaker who's been alive, I like to remind our viewers longer than both you and I have.
Yeah.
He's been a speaker
Maybe
longer
combined.
than both you and I have been alive. Yeah, so I think there's a problem with the state. It probably has something to do with the guy who's been in the office for that long.
Agreed.
But what we need to remember is that we're not going to beat Speaker Madigan by beating him in his district. We need to help the Republican candidates that are running for House and get them elected. So, Greg, as we wrap up here, I want to know, what's the one message that you want to leave with the friends and family, the voters, the constituents that we're talking to here today, and how can we support you?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And, there's a couple of messages that I'd like to share, but I think the most important, and Chris just mentioned, the fact that we are facing very dire circumstances in our state right now. It's not all doom and gloom, but if things keep going the way they are, there's going to be no economic incentive for people to stay, and that saddens me. I think having Illinois be a great place to live, work, raise a family, it's why our parents brought us here. It's why we've continued to grow our lives here. But my worry is that so many young people and baby boomers, frankly, too, are seeking the only exit, and that's to leave the state just because there's no financial sense to stay. I really believe that regardless of whatever age you are, if you've been involved in politics, if you haven't, now is the time to get involved, whether it be at the state level or down at the levels of government that actually impact our day-to-day lives, like the county board. there should be no reason why you convince yourself not to get involved. If you care deeply about issues that are affecting you and your family, the only way to get out is not only to vote, but actually volunteer and ensure that the candidates that represent your viewpoints are getting elected. And I believe that I carry the same views that a lot of our members have, one, but also a lot of the members of my district have. I'm for fiscal responsibility. I'm for making sure the government operates within its means. And I think with those two messages, I would love to have all of your support and encourage you to help out. Because local government is, state government and federal government get a lot of the headlines, but local government really is where the sausage is made.
Yep.
That's where most of us are impacted on a day-to-day basis. And in that sense, I would love to have your support in not only my race, but ensuring that we can continue to make DuPage a great place. And hopefully some of the success we're having in DuPage bleeds over into Cook so that you
Absolutely.
guys can have that
we
too.
need some of that so we can keep this beautiful city and this whole area here into better straits. So Greg, is there a website or a Facebook page, or if we wanted to send our viewers out to check out you and your campaign so that way they can see what's going on?
Absolutely.
Where would they go?
Yeah, so my website is greghart.com, GREGHART. I said that a little louder because there was the truck in the back. But
love having the city sound.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then I'm on Facebook as well. You can search me under Greg Hart on my political page. And feel free to please like that page. And if you're interested in getting involved or volunteering, please visit my website. We would love to have your help and support.
Perfect. So Greg, I appreciate it. A true leader, a true civic servant. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Of course.
You all out there, I hope you enjoyed listening to Greg. I hope you have the chance to either get out and vote for Greg, or if you're not in DuPage, love to get out and support Greg, do whatever we can, help him go knock on doors, meet the constituents in his district. Let's make sure you get in to maintain that seat.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
That was good, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Great.